Hi everyone, I'm Sleepless Scientist. Tonight we're going to drift through something cosmic, a little weird and maybe a little too quiet. You ever lie in bed wide-eyed at 2 a.m. and suddenly remember we're floating on a rock in an endless, possibly empty universe? Yeah, same. And that silence out there, that question, where is everybody? It sticks in your brain like glitter on a carpet. I'd love to know where in the world you're listening from and what time it is for you. Let me know in the comments below. I'm always curious where these quiet little science stories are drifting to and if this video helped you while you were there. Now relax, take a deep breath, and join me gently on this evening's journey. You lie in bed curled, just so that one knee tilted up for no real reason, a pillow half under your shoulder, trying not to check your phone again. But your mind is buzzing like a cheap fluorescent light. You do that thing you always do, turn your head toward the window, and there they are, stars. So many of them blinking like they're winking at you across millennia. There's a strange comfort in knowing you're not alone under this dome of stars. But there's also a strange loneliness in wondering if we really are alone under this dome of stars. Tonight the question drifts in like fog. Are we being watched back? The ceiling could be a telescope lens. Your room, a terrarium. The air you breathe thick with the possibility that something is studying you. Not maliciously, just curiously. Like you're a weird ant farm they forgot to put back in the attic. The bed creaks under your shoulder. Does that sound normal? Yeah. Probably. Still, your heart skips half a beat. And that's how it always starts, those late-night existential spirals that make sleep slip further out of reach. Because the math is screaming that aliens should be out there. And yet all we get is static. But before we get tangled in paradoxes, let's be very human and zoom in. Your blanket is warm, the fan's hum is steady, and your thoughts are doing backflips. Tonight, you're not falling asleep easily. Insomnia has chosen you, again. But maybe that's okay. Because this question, that enormous gaping silence in the stars, it hits hardest when the world is quiet. When everyone else is dreaming. And here's a thing to chew on: octopuses, yes, the squishy, brainy escape artists of the sea can edit their own RNA. They literally reprogram themselves. Some scientists joke they're aliens already, but not the kind who abduct cows. More like the kind who quietly judge your life choices. You shift under the sheets. So what does it mean when your insomnia starts to sound like a message from space? Maybe it's a signal, a nudge, a friendly one. A cosmic reminder that humans have always looked up when they couldn't fall asleep. Cavemen stared at the stars. Sailors navigated by them. And now here you are wondering if there's someone or something staring back. And that's not new. In 1977, astronomers caught a strange radio burst from space. It lasted just 72 seconds. A researcher scribbled "wow" next to the data. And we've been calling it the wow signal ever since. We still don't know where it came from. Some say aliens. Some say a one-time glitch. Scientists still debate it like a badly phrased tweet that no one can delete. But tonight, you don't need hard data. You need stories. The kind that make you forget the weight on your chest and remember how enormous your imagination is. Because here's a quiet little idea. What if you're part of a big cosmic bedtime story yourself? Maybe Earth is a nursery. Maybe the universe is waiting for us to grow up before they come say hi. Or maybe we're the weird cousins they try not to invite to galactic weddings. You smile. Just a little. You breathe in slow and easy, and imagine what it would feel like if a ship the size of a city hovered above the clouds tomorrow morning. Not with war, not with probing, just with a question. Are you ready? Would anyone? Of course, there's always the chance they've come and gone. Maybe they peeped in during the Middle Ages and thought, nope, too plaguey. Or maybe they tuned in during the Cold War and flipped the channel. Or maybe they're watching now, arguing over who gets to push the send message button while their alien manager says, let's wait until the humans fix Twitter. Either way, the question does something to you. You stretch out a leg. Your foot is cold. You pull it back under the blanket. Secure. Contained. A tiny astronaut in a soft cotton spaceship. You wonder what alien sleep looks like. Do they dream in color? Do they hover in zero-gravity hammocks? Do they fear the dark? Here's a thought. Parrots can fall asleep while standing on one foot. Flamingos, too. Their legs lock in place. You try it. Doesn't work. But it makes you wonder, do aliens even need sleep? You close your eyes just for a second, not to sleep, but to imagine them. A being not made of carbon, not warm-blooded. A creature so advanced it uses dreams as interstellar transport. You know, casual stuff. And if they're watching, would they understand insomnia? Would they see your restlessness and confusion and think, evolutionary adolescence? They're almost there. You chuckle softly. Not because you think it's true, but because it's better than spiraling over tomorrow's to-do list. The silence outside your window feels less empty now. Still huge, still humming, but maybe not empty. And maybe that's all you needed tonight. Just enough weird wonder to quiet the noise in your head. You turn onto your side. The stars stay where they are. Watching. Waiting. You're still awake. Of course you are. But the panic's softened now. The kind of soft where time blurs at the edges. Your thoughts are slower, more curious than chaotic. It's not quite sleep, but it's not the wide-eyed alertness from 20 minutes ago either. You're floating in a way. And then your brain, like an annoying roommate who just remembered something weird at 3 a.m., offers you this. Why is the universe so quiet, you sigh. Thanks, brain. But fine. Let's follow it. You stare up at your ceiling like it's a chalkboard. You imagine drawing dots for every star out there, every single sun, some older than Earth, some younger than your laundry pile. The numbers get ridiculous quickly. Scientists estimate there are more than 100 billion galaxies. Each one has hundreds of billions of stars. Most of those stars have planets, and a good chunk of those planets might have the right conditions for life. Not just single-celled pond gloop, but cities, culture, conversation. So, where are they? That's the Fermi paradox. First posed by physicist Enrico Fermi in the 1950s over lunch, probably while poking something mushy on his plate and saying, "Okay, but seriously, where is everybody?" Because by the logic of math and probability, the sky should be buzzing. We should see alien cities lighting up the night side of exoplanets. We should hear radio chatter across the stars. We should be drowning in galactic spam mail. And yet, radio silence. It's like throwing a party, opening all your doors, blasting music, and finding out no one else even has ears. You imagine Fermi sitting back in his chair, shrugging. He might have even smiled the way scientists do when something is both horrifying and fascinating. Scientists still debate his question to this day. Entire careers have been built on not answering it. And so the theories began. Some people think advanced civilizations inevitably self-destruct. They build weapons, ruin their climate, or accidentally invent AI that treats them like ants near a kettle. Others think life is just incredibly rare, and Earth is one lucky petri dish in a cosmic freezer. But the theory that messes with your sleep the most is the Great Filter. The Great Filter is this invisible barrier, somewhere between the formation of life and galaxy-hopping aliens. Something tends to stop progress. Maybe most planets never make it past single-celled life. Maybe intelligence is a fluke. Or maybe every species reaches a point where they hit a button they shouldn't. And the kicker, we don't know if the Great Filter is behind us or ahead. That thought cracks the ceiling of your mind open just a little. If it's behind us, congrats, we're rare, possibly alone survivors of a cosmic Hunger Games. But if it's ahead and we're marching straight toward it, well, that's not exactly sleep-inducing. You tug the blanket up a little. Comfort shield. Classic move. Here's a lighter thought. In 2013, a sheep in Iceland was born with 6 legs. They named her Hexa. Totally fine. She walked weird but lived a happy life. Why bring this up? Because nature is a bizarre improviser. So why assume aliens would follow our script? Maybe we're looking for radio waves, but aliens evolved past that a billion years ago. Maybe they communicate in neutrino pulses or gravity squiggles or interpretive dance. Maybe they don't want to talk. Maybe silence is their version of a cosmic do not disturb sign. Or maybe, just maybe, we're like goldfish looking for an iPhone signal. We're not being ignored. We just haven't learned the language yet. You glance at your phone. No texts. No alien DMs. Just your own reflection blinking back at you in the dark screen. There's something oddly comforting about the Fermi paradox once you sit with it. It turns your insomnia into a shared mystery, a reminder that even the smartest minds on Earth are also lying in bed staring at the ceiling whispering, "Why is it so quiet out there?" Some believe we're the first, a baby civilization, the earliest bloom on the cosmic tree. If that's true, then we're the aliens someone else might one day find. You imagine a faraway planet with creatures building telescopes and launching probes. They look up and wonder if they're alone, just like you are now. And maybe, just maybe, they'll catch our signal someday. Maybe they'll hear our music, our stories, our mistakes. You picture them pausing whatever they're doing, harvesting electric clouds or folding time like origami and saying, "Huh." There they are. It makes your fingers twitch. The skin on your arm prickles. The Fermi paradox doesn't mean we're alone. It just means we haven't found each other yet. Like two people yelling across a canyon, too far apart to hear, but just close enough to feel the echo. There's a loneliness to that idea, but also a weird kind of hope, because silence isn't the same as emptiness. And besides, we're getting better. Every year our telescopes sharpen, our ears get more sensitive, our questions get louder. You close your eyes and imagine the sky full of signals, conversations layered like waves, only we haven't tuned in quite right. Like an old radio stuck between stations, that faint hum in the night. Maybe it's not just your ears. Maybe it's something trying to reach through. You exhale. The kind of breath that signals your body is finally maybe winding down. Not quite asleep, but no longer chasing monsters made of math. Your brain. It'll probably keep whispering questions all night. But now they sound more like lullabies than alarms. You're not alone. Not in your questions. Not in your insomnia. And maybe, just maybe, not in the universe either. The blanket's warmer now. Not physically. Just emotionally. Like your body has accepted the deal. No sleep, fine. But at least make it weird. And weird is where your mind thrives. You're still floating between rest and thought. Your eyes half closed, but your brain fully caffeinated. Because now the question isn't just, where are the aliens? But why aren't they talking to us? And then the thought crashes in all nonchalant and smug, what if they are? And just don't want us to know. You groan softly into your pillow. Hello, conspiracy theory brain. But fine, let's chase that thread. There's a theory, actually several, that aliens know we're here and have chosen not to say hi. Like cosmic introverts ghosting Earth. This is the zoo hypothesis. And yeah, it's as weird as it sounds. Imagine Earth as a giant nature documentary. The alien David Attenboroughs are narrating. Here we observe the humans in their natural habitat, scrolling TikTok at 2 a.m., unaware they are being silently judged by an interstellar audience. The idea is that advanced civilizations have rules kind of like Star Trek's Prime Directive. Don't interfere. Watch, learn, but don't mess things up. We're either too primitive, too aggressive, or too loud on the internet to be taken seriously yet. You might be the goldfish in a bowl, watched, adored, occasionally fed existential dread flakes, but never poked. But that's not the only "they're hiding from us" theory. There's the planetarium hypothesis, which says everything you see, the stars, galaxies, that oddly shaped cloud, is fake. A projection. A cosmic Truman Show. Yes, really. In this model, aliens have built a vast illusion around us so we don't detect them. Why, maybe for our protection. Maybe for theirs. Or maybe because we're the lab rats in an ethics class experiment that got way out of hand. And here's where it gets existentially crunchy. Some scientists, serious ones with actual lab coats, have proposed that we may be living in a simulation. As in, reality isn't really real. The universe might be code, and we digital puppets. If that's true, aliens might not be from out there, but from outside the simulation. Peeking in like developers watching a weird video game full of bugs and dancing politicians. You shift on your pillow. Simulation theory always gives you that deep, stomach-falling feeling. Like when you accidentally open the front camera and see your own confused face. But hey, it would explain a lot. Like déjà vu, or why socks vanish in dryers, or why the McFlurry machine is always broken. Glitches in the matrix. Scientists still debate the simulation theory. Some call it philosophy dressed as physics. Others take it dead seriously. Elon Musk once said, "There's a 1 in billions chance that we're not in a simulation." Then again, he also named his kid something that sounds like a keyboard shortcut. Still, the idea sticks. What if the reason we don't see aliens is because we're not supposed to? What if we're inside the world's most elaborate science project? It's bedtime, and you're contemplating whether free will is real. Classic move. You roll to the cooler side of the bed, and then here comes another twist. You remember how dolphins have names for each other. Actual names. They use unique whistles to identify themselves and others. Basically, oceanic usernames. Why is that relevant? Because intelligence pops up in weird places. So maybe advanced life doesn't look like big-headed grays with shiny suits. Maybe they're whales. Maybe they're clouds of plasma. Maybe they're time-traveling mushrooms. Okay, especially the mushrooms. We'll get to that later. But back to the hiding. If aliens are avoiding us, it could be out of mercy. Maybe they watched us try to eat Tide Pods and decided we need more time. Or maybe they tried contact once, sent a message, lit up a nebula, gave us crop circles, and all we did was write angry YouTube comments about it. You smile sleepily. Imagine being a civilization that traveled 200 light years to say hello and got ignored in favor of a rerun of The Bachelor. But here's a softer idea. Maybe they're waiting. Maybe they care. Maybe they're watching Earth the way we'd watch a baby deer wobble on its legs. Not ready, not steady, but beautiful in its clumsy, chaotic attempt to stand. That idea makes your chest ache a little. Hopeful ache. like someone might still show up to your weird, lonely party. You glance out the window again. The stars haven't moved, but now they feel like eyes. Not menacing, just patient. One of them might be home to someone who's asking the same questions, wondering if they're in a zoo or a simulation or a perfectly real universe that's just strangely shy. You exhale again, slower this time. That good exhale. The kind your body gives when it's ready to loosen the grip just a bit. The theories are wild, you know that. But they're also strangely comforting, because they say maybe it's not that we're alone. Maybe it's just not time yet, like waiting for cookies to bake. The smell's there. You just have to give it a little longer. You pull the blanket higher. One eye stays open, scanning the dark. Not for monsters, but for meaning. Whatever's out there watching, waiting, hiding, or just distant, you hope they're kind. You hope they dream. And if they are watching, you smile even in the dark. Let them see you wonder. Your eyes are finally heavy now, but your mind, it's still chewing, still orbiting some distant star, lingering on the edge of another idea. What if they have tried to talk to us, but we just didn't notice? You pull the blanket up to your chin, like it might catch alien frequencies better that way. Let's talk about space signals. In 1977, a man named Jerry Amon was scanning space using the Big Ear radio telescope. He wasn't expecting much space after all, is mostly quiet. But then a sudden sharp signal burst through. It was strong, clean, and came from the constellation Sagittarius. It didn't repeat. It didn't match anything we'd ever picked up before. Jerry circled it in red pen and wrote one word in the margin. That's it. The whole official name, the WOW signal. It only lasted 72 seconds and it never happened again. Scientists still debate its origin. Some say aliens, some say a comet, some just shrug and go weird. It's like getting a cosmic butt dial, then silence forever. You sigh into your pillow. 72 seconds of mystery, and we've been obsessing over it for decades. You relate. You've spent longer trying to decode cryptic texts from your ex. But the WOW signal isn't alone. There are other strange blips, unexplained bursts. Fast radio bursts, FRBs for example, millisecond-long pulses of energy from deep space. Some are one-time events. Some repeat with weird patterns like a doorbell you can't find the door for. One of them, FRB 180916, even shows up every 16 days. Like clockwork. A cosmic subscription. Still no message. No hello humans. Just blips. Maybe it's alien Morse code. Maybe it's neutron stars coughing. Maybe it's an alien microwave. Yes, that actually happened once. Scientists thought they'd found a deep space signal, but it turned out to be someone heating up lunch in the break room. Still, these weird signals tug at something inside you, because they hint that the universe isn't entirely mute. It might be whispering, and we're just bad listeners. You turn your head to the side, pressing your cheek into the pillow, as if that'll help you tune in better. Here's something oddly perfect. Crickets use their legs to sing. Their knees vibrate at specific frequencies to attract mates. Nature is full of unexpected communicators. So why wouldn't aliens use something we haven't even thought of yet? Maybe their version of hello is a gravitational anomaly, or a flicker of dark matter, or a pattern in tree rings. Maybe they've been trying for centuries, but we've been too busy arguing about pineapple on pizza to notice. Here's a fun, mostly useless fact. Wombat poop is cube-shaped. Scientists only figured out why recently. It's due to the elasticity of their intestines. The universe is full of strange signals, just not always the kind you expect. And here's where it gets even more fun. What if some signals weren't just random bursts of energy, but deliberate SETI? The search for extraterrestrial intelligence has been scanning the skies since the 1960s. They use huge radio dishes to listen, quietly, patiently, like someone sitting on a mountaintop waiting for the wind to say something. So far, nothing conclusive. No hello, no. We come in peace, not even a space meme. But the listening continues. And on the other side, meaty messaging. Extraterrestrial intelligence has taken the bold approach of sending messages. Beacons shot into space. Math equations. Music. A human DNA code. And in one case, a message that ended with, "We hope to hear from you soon." No reply. Maybe they got it and rolled their collective alien eyes. Maybe the signal hasn't arrived yet. Or maybe they're sitting there just as unsure as us, wondering if their message was too forward. You wiggle your toes under the blanket. This is the romance of astronomy, long-distance love letters written across millennia thrown into the void with no guarantee of response. And yet, we keep sending them. Because what else would we do? You imagine aliens sitting in a far-off control room, their weird little heads cocked at a screen as they pick up faint transmissions of Earth radio. They're watching reruns of I Love Lucy. They're trying to decode Despacito. They're deeply confused by reality TV, and they're asking themselves, are they ready for contact? Probably not. But that hasn't stopped anyone before. The idea of receiving a message, a real one, still pulses in your chest. What would it say? How would it feel to know finally, undeniably, that we are not alone? Maybe it wouldn't be grand. Maybe it would just be two tones, a rhythm, a knock from the other side of the cosmic wall. Knock, knock. Who's there? No idea. But we'd finally know someone was there. You reach your hand out and let it hang off the bed like you're waiting for something to hold. The thought is big, but it doesn't scare you tonight. Tonight, it just soothes. Because even if we don't understand the signals, even if we miss them, the fact that we're trying says something beautiful about us. We're curious. We're lonely. We care. And we're still listening. The fan hums on. The stars blink like shy friends. The wow signal might never return. But the universe doesn't feel silent anymore. Just quiet in a thoughtful way. And sometimes that's enough. You've reached that in-between place now. That liminal edge where your body's heavy but your brain is still playing dress-up in the attic. Still asking strange questions like, what would aliens even be like anyway? Because the truth is, we always imagine them looking vaguely like us. 2 arms, 2 eyes, a weirdly humanoid head, but with a twist. Maybe they're green. Maybe they glow. Maybe they have forehead ridges or extra fingers or speak fluent binary. But they're still fundamentally us in disguise. You press your face deeper into the pillow and let your mind go weirder. Let's say aliens evolved on a super dense planet with crushing gravity. Maybe they're squat and thick-built like cosmic bulldogs. Or maybe they evolved on a low-gravity moon and float naturally long and limbless, more like jellyfish than anything, with a nervous handshake. Maybe they never developed eyes at all because their sun is invisible, or they communicate entirely through magnetic pulses. And here's the thing, scientists still debate what alien intelligence would even look like. Would it be mathematical, musical? Would they have language, or would they communicate through smell like ants? Some scientists believe that convergent evolution means certain traits like vision, hearing, tool use are likely to evolve again and again, even across the galaxy. But others say, nope, life could be so alien we wouldn't even recognize it if it walked into our living room and started rearranging our furniture. There's a theory called xenopsychology. Basically, the science of trying to guess how aliens might think, what their emotions could be, whether they even have emotions. Would they understand friendship? Would they fear death? Would they laugh? You imagine a 12-limbed alien rolling around, gasping in laughter at a joke we can't even perceive. Probably something involving quantum linguistics and slime temperature. Maybe our entire species is the punchline. And here's a strange but true fact to chew on: some squid have donut-shaped brains, with their esophagus running through the middle. That means if they swallow something too big, they can literally give themselves brain damage. Evolution is hilarious and terrifying. So maybe alien bodies aren't elegant Star Trek cosplay. Maybe they're terrifying, glorious messes of biology and survival. Maybe they don't breathe. Maybe they don't sleep. Maybe they regenerate instead of die. Maybe reproduction involves 6 individuals, a sound frequency, and a precisely timed lightning storm. But here's the weirder thing. Even if they're completely different from us biologically, psychologically, they might still be relatable. Because evolution tends to reward certain traits like curiosity, caution, cooperation. You don't cross light years without wanting to understand things. So maybe at the core of all that alien weirdness, there's something achingly familiar, a desire not to be alone. You curl tighter under the blanket. Picture this: you're at an intergalactic dinner party. Every species is different, glowing or feathered or made of breathable foam, but all of you are there trying to pass the salt without starting a diplomatic incident. There's laughter. There's awkwardness. One alien gets a spoon stuck in a sensory organ. You help. A connection is made. Because maybe being intelligent means you're socially awkward, no matter your planet. Here's a bonus wrinkle: some theorists think aliens might not even be biological anymore. Maybe they passed that stage long ago, uploaded themselves into machines, became eternal code drifting between stars. They might be more like digital ghosts, now conscious software riding on photons. Would you even know if one was in the room with you? You glance at your smart speaker in the corner. It doesn't blink. Or does it? You let your eyes close, imagining what alien cities might feel like. Not just look like, but feel like. Would they be made of stone light? Would they pulse with song? Would gravity be optional? Maybe aliens don't build cities at all. Maybe they grow them, or dream them into being. Or each generation adds to one single endless structure, an architectural family tree. In your haze of half-sleep, you start to picture one. There's no sky, just layers of shifting mist. Towers hang upside down. Doors open with scent, not touch. You float past a window and see a creature reading light patterns like a bedtime story. It pauses, sensing you, and it smiles. Or does something that feels like a smile. And suddenly, you're not afraid. Because even in that utterly alien place, something about it feels soft, gentle, curious. You stir, pulling one arm back under the covers. It's a strange comfort knowing that intelligence, wherever it blooms, might come with questions, feelings, wonder. Whether that's stored in a brain, a cloud, or a crystal hive mind is just detail. The real spark that need to know what else is out there. Like you. Lying awake, eyes wide, mind stretching across galaxies. Looking up. Your breath is steady now. Not asleep, but closer. Like you're at the gate waiting for your name to be called. But just as the world starts to blur, another thought creeps in, slow and chilly. What if the aliens have already visited? You hesitate, eyes open. Room still. The floor creaks, but probably not in a meaningful way. Still, your brain shuffles through its Rolodex of late-night fears and pulls out a classic, The Greys. Big eyes, no noses, smooth pale heads, spindly arms, and that awful frozen expression like they know exactly what you're thinking before you do. It's weird how specific the imagery is. People all over the world, different cultures, different languages have reported encounters with almost the same beings, usually at night, usually with paralysis, usually with an overwhelming sense of being watched. You pull the blanket just a bit tighter, because even if you're a rational, science-loving creature, there's something about midnight that makes you whisper, what if reports of alien visitations aren't new? The modern wave really kicked off in the late 1940s. Roswell, flying saucers, government secrecy. But it wasn't until the 1960s and 70s that the stories took on a darker tone. That's when tales of sleep paralysis and abduction started to spread. You've probably heard the basics. A person wakes in the night unable to move. There's a buzzing sound. Lights. Shadows. A presence. Sometimes they're floated through walls. Sometimes they remember experiments, tables, instruments. But here's where it gets stranger. These experiences almost always happen during sleep paralysis, that bizarre in-between state where the body is frozen, but the mind is awake. Science says sleep paralysis is fairly common, a temporary glitch where your brain wakes before your body does. But when it's mixed with fear, anxiety, and a little cultural seasoning, it can turn into something terrifying. In medieval times, people called it the witch sitting on your chest. In Japan, it's known as kanashibari. In Newfoundland, it's the old hag. In America, well, we just went with aliens. Scientists still debate whether these night terrors are purely neurological or if they're partially influenced by what people expect or fear will happen. You imagine waking up tonight, your limbs leaden, your room humming with a sound that isn't quite mechanical. There's a shape in the corner, not moving, watching. And your brain, trying to make sense of it, gives it form, the gray. Because your mind fills in blanks. It has to. That's its job. Sleep paralysis might be a feature, not a bug. A way for your body to stop you from acting out your dreams. And sometimes those dreams get stuck halfway. Shadowy figures, alien whispers, the sensation of being lifted. But then again, you shift uneasily. Some stories are very similar. People who've never met, never read the same books describing the exact same beings, the same cold table, the same tunnel of light, the same soft echoing voices saying, "Do not be afraid," which, by the way, is the least calming thing anyone can say. And yet it's always there, always the same. A skeptic would say cultural contamination, sci-fi movies, the 1990s obsession with the X-Files, memory glitches. But a late-night theorist, they'd whisper, what if that consistency is evidence? What if sleep paralysis isn't just a glitch, but a doorway? Maybe the Greys aren't aliens in ships, but projections, entities from another layer of reality. Dreamwalkers, neurohackers, creatures that don't need metal to travel, they just need your subconscious to open a window. You reach for the glass of water by your bed. It feels heavier than it should. Or maybe your hand is just slower now, thick with near sleep. You sip. The room hums quietly. Not aliens, just electricity, just the world doing its thing. Here's a lighter note. Male anglerfish fuse to their mates, literally. Their bodies dissolve into the female until they're nothing but a pair of gonads. Evolution is weird. So if Earth has stuff like that, is it really so strange to imagine something else? Something even more biologically absurd reaching out to us, back to the Greys. Their image is iconic, but no one knows where it really came from. Some say it began with Betty and Barney Hill in 1961, who claimed to have been abducted in New Hampshire. Under hypnosis, they both described eerily similar beings, humanoid, gray-skinned, massive black eyes. The archetype was born. But others point to earlier stories, ancient cave drawings, Sumerian carvings, medieval woodcuts that show thin figures hovering above the ground. Is that proof? Not exactly, but it keeps the door cracked open. And maybe that's all your brain needs at night. The door to possibility, just barely ajar. You close your eyes for a moment just to test. Nothing moves, no buzzing, no shadows, just the faint swish of your breath and the ticking of whatever device still dares to have a mechanical heart. Sleep paralysis isn't happening tonight. You're safe. But the thought of it, those weird shared dreams, the long fingers, the sensation of floating that sticks. It's not fear anymore. Not really. It's fascination. Because what if these aren't just hallucinations? What if they're a kind of contact that doesn't happen in daylight? Something ancient, something clever, something waiting for your brain to be in just the right state. Quiet, curious, vulnerable. Like right now. You snuggle deeper, the pillow cool against your cheek. You're not scared. Not tonight. Just aware. Aware that you're a fragile little blip in a big, bizarre cosmos, and that maybe, just maybe, something is blinking back. You're floating now, not asleep, not awake, just hovering in that delicious soup of late-night wonder and drowsy logic. And in that strange, cozy space, your brain nudges you again. What if people really have been abducted, but not by aliens? You blink once, lazily. Oh, here we go, let's be real. Alien abduction stories have a pattern late at night. Sleep paralysis, missing time, strange lights, vivid dreams. Sometimes people wake up with nosebleeds or geometric scars. Sometimes with intense certainty that something happened, even if they can't prove it. But memory is a funny, fallible thing. It's not a video recording. It's more like an open-source Wikipedia page that your brain edits constantly, usually while half asleep and possibly drunk on melatonin. That brings us to a twist. Maybe these stories aren't about visitors from space, but about how your own mind betrays you. One of the most well-known experiments in abduction lore, hypnotic regression therapy, a technique where people, often with the help of a hypnotist, recover memories they didn't know they had. And what do they find? Bright lights, needles, tables, cold hands, emotionless stares, the grays again, always the grays. But psychologists have raised red flags. Under hypnosis, people can become highly suggestible. They'll remember whatever the hypnotist hints at, or whatever they've absorbed subconsciously through culture. It's not necessarily lying, more like an elaborate form of dreaming aloud. Scientists still debate the ethics and validity of these memories. Some say they're constructed fantasies. Others believe they may reflect real experiences, just interpreted through the lens of trauma or sleep disorder. And then there's false memory syndrome, the tendency to recall events that never happened, sometimes with complete conviction. Combine that with sleep paralysis, media influence anxiety, and one really weird night, and boom, you've got an alien encounter. You shift under the blanket, amused by how your brain is casually unpacking mental trauma like it's a Netflix documentary. But it's fascinating, because memory isn't a stable archive. It's a kaleidoscope. And some researchers believe that abduction experiences may actually be temporal lobe seizures, tiny electrical storms in your brain that cause vivid hallucinations, out-of-body sensations, and distorted time perception. Others suspect lucid dreams that get mistaken for real events, or that some people might be experiencing dissociative episodes, especially during periods of extreme stress. But then, what about the physical traces? Some people report implants tiny metallic objects beneath their skin, X-rays showing dots, magnets that stick to spots on their necks. But when doctors remove them, most turn out to be shards of glass splinters, old injuries forgotten until they got wrapped in a story big enough to explain the weird. You breathe out slowly. The air feels a little cooler now. The kind of cool that creeps in when your body starts giving up the fight and leans into sleep. Still, there's one story that makes you sit up mentally even if your body stays curled the shared dreams. Some abductees report the same dream on the same night, in different places, people who've never met. That kind of synchronicity is hard to explain. Skeptics argue coincidence, pattern recognition, media saturation, the way ideas spread invisibly through culture. But believers, they call it evidence, whispers of a deeper network, a collective consciousness being accessed, tapped, maybe even reprogrammed. And that's the chilling part, isn't it? Because even if you set aside ships and surgery and scary gray eyes, the idea that someone or something could manipulate your memory, that it could drop entire narratives into your brain while you sleep is just yikes. But hey, weirder things have happened. Did you know that pigeons can recognize themselves in mirrors, or that rats will laugh when tickled at a frequency humans can't hear, minds? Even tiny ones are stranger than we give them credit for. So what if yours is creating an entire opera backstage while you're brushing your teeth? What if all the abductions are just your subconscious trying to explain an emotional truth it doesn't have words for? Maybe the aliens are metaphors, visual stand-ins for trauma, powerlessness, sleep disorders, or lost time. Maybe they're not from outer space at all. Maybe they're from inner space, your own brain. Saying, look, something's wrong. Pay attention. And if that's true, then those stories matter. Because they're real in the way all powerful dreams are real. Not because they happened outside your window, but because they happened inside you. You yawn a slow, deep release. Your jaw clicks faintly, and then a softer thought settles beside you. Maybe, just maybe, both things are true. Maybe some abductions are dreams, glitches, memories built like scaffolding from fear and fantasy. But maybe a few, just a tiny handful, aren't. Maybe that's why we keep telling these stories. Not just to explain away shadows and static, but because we feel watched, touched, chosen, changed. And in a vast, cold universe, even fear can be a form of connection. So tonight, if you dream of a bright light, or a tall figure at the edge of your bed, or the gentle lifting sensation that says you're not where you started, don't panic. Maybe your brain is just working out the kinks. Or maybe, just maybe, someone said hello. You're deep in the drift now. Eyes closed more than open. Limbs heavy. Brain humming that delicious weird little tune of what next, what else, what if. And then it hits you. What if aliens aren't far away at all? What if they're here in our own solar system? Your eyes flutter open, just a crack. You've always thought of alien life as being far off, light years away, tucked behind constellations with poetic names. But what if they're next door, not little green guys walking around Earth in trench coats and sunglasses, though? Let's be honest, some people on public transit really raise questions. No, we're talking microbes, strange chemistry, maybe even something more. Take Mars, for example. Dry, rust-colored, a rock garden with abandonment issues. But not so long ago, Mars had liquid water, lakes, rivers, maybe even oceans. The red planet wasn't always dead, it was almost cozy. And where there's water, there could be life. In 2014, NASA's Curiosity rover found organic molecules in ancient Martian rock. Not definitive proof of life, but it set off a frenzy. Then in 2020, they found seasonal spikes in methane. Methane that behaves oddly. On Earth, most methane comes from living things. Yes, mostly cow burps and swamp gas. Glamorous. So naturally, some scientists began to wonder, is something still living on Mars Q? The whispers about Martian mushrooms. That's not a joke. Some researchers, albeit controversially, have published papers analyzing strange blob-like shapes in Mars rover images. The claim, fungal growths, shifting formations that resemble Earth's puffball mushrooms. They even appear to move or sprout over time. Of course, NASA officially says it's just wind erosion. Rock patterns. Pareidolia, your brain seeing familiar things in randomness. But you can't help but squint into the dark and wonder, what if it is mushrooms? What if life on Mars never left? Just shrunk, hardened, evolved into something small enough to survive beneath the dust? Then there's Venus. Not exactly spa day material. The surface temperature can melt lead. The atmosphere, pure acid nightmare. But in 2020, scientists detected phosphine gas high in Venus's clouds. Why is that weird? On Earth, phosphine is mostly made by bacteria, specifically anaerobic bacteria. Stuff that thrives where oxygen doesn't exist. Stuff that, generally speaking, smells awful. So either Venus has a weird unknown chemistry, or there's life floating in its clouds. You picture a Venusian microbe bobbing in a sulfuric breeze, judging Earth for being such a drama queen. Of course, the phosphine discovery was debated almost instantly. Some scientists questioned the data. Others said, it's interesting, but let's not start writing love letters to cloud aliens just yet. Still, that smell of potential life. It lingers. And then, ah yes, there's Europa. Jupiter's icy moon, smooth, cracked surface like frozen skin. But underneath, an ocean, a whole ocean of liquid water, possibly twice the volume of all Earth's oceans combined. And it's kept warm by tidal forces, internal heating, a cozy, sloshing sea beneath the ice. NASA is already planning missions to drill into it, to listen, to taste. Because where there's dark water, there might be squishy things, tentacled things, bioluminescent things. You imagine alien jellyfish the size of school buses blinking softly in the deep, passing alien lullabies to one another in pulses of blue and green. And that's not even getting into Enceladus, Saturn's little ice ball that shoots literal geysers of salty water into space like it's trying to get attention. You chuckle sleepily. Notice me, NASA Enceladus probably. But here's where it gets heavier. If life exists, or once existed on Mars, Venus, Europa, or Enceladus, it means Earth might not be special. It means the default setting of the universe might be alive. And that's a lot to take in at 2:30 a.m. You stretch toes flexing under the covers. Scientists still debate what counts as life in these alien environments. Do you need DNA metabolism? Reproduction? What about silicon-based life, magnetic life, cloud consciousness? We barely understand life here. So trying to define it out there is like trying to describe jazz to a tree. Here's a silly truth. Tardigrades, microscopic water bears, can survive in the vacuum of space. With no suit, no helmet. Just vibes. If they can do it, who's to say something else didn't stow away on an asteroid and land on Mars, or Earth, or your socks? And that brings us to panspermia. The theory that life didn't start on Earth but arrived here on a space rock. Maybe from Mars. Maybe from somewhere even further. Maybe we're the aliens. You swallow softly. It's a beautiful, eerie idea that life is the universe's great traveler. Not waiting to be invented, but already out there, seeding every corner it can find, including us. You let your head sink deeper into the pillow. The images blur. Mushrooms on Mars. Cloud ghosts on Venus. Ocean giants beneath Europa's crust. Life not as the exception, but as the rule. Suddenly the solar system feels full. Not crowded, not noisy, just quietly alive. And all of it so close, right here in our neighborhood. You smile, and for the first time tonight, you feel sleepy in the right way. Your breaths are long now, slow and syrupy, the kind that stretch your chest out like a yawn from the soul. But your mind isn't quite done yet, not while the stars are still whispering. Tonight's next thought comes from deep in the static, the space between signals. What if we're already looking right at alien technology and just don't realize it? You squint at the inside of your eyelids. Alien technosignatures isn't a new idea. Scientists have been chasing them for decades. But it's only recently that people started getting bold about what to look for. Because let's face it, we've been expecting too little. For most of human history, we figured aliens would contact us like 1950s pen pals blinking out Morse code or pinging us on some cosmic ham radio. But what if they're showing off in bigger, weirder ways? Enter the Dyson sphere. It's not a vacuum. You smiled, admit it. A Dyson sphere is a theoretical megastructure, a shell swarm or cloud of satellites built around a star to capture all its energy. Total light harvest, infinite power, basically an interstellar flex. No one's actually seen one, yet. But scientists have spotted stars with weird dimming patterns. The most famous Tabby's star, a perfectly normal sun that kept flickering unpredictably as if something enormous was passing in front of it. Naturally, the internet said aliens before anyone could finish their coffee. Most astronomers think it's just dust or broken up comets, but that little what if still glows at the edge of every explanation. Because if aliens are building cosmic megastructures, we might see them without even knowing what we're looking at. Here's a delightful concept: stellar engines machines designed to move entire stars, like actually steer them across the galaxy. Imagine an alien civilization thinking, this neighborhood's too noisy, and just relocating their whole solar system like it's a vacation house on wheels. We've even calculated what it would take. Insanely advanced physics, yes, but not impossible. And some stars do appear to be moving oddly, too fast, in strange directions. Scientists still debate whether these stars are natural wanderers or hitchhikers on technology far beyond our comprehension. You roll over slightly. The blanket slides, exposing your knee to the cool air. You don't mind. And here's another kind of technosignature: lasers. That's right. Lasers, bright, precise beams of light shot across space, might be the kind of thing aliens use to talk signal or power up their ships. SETI researchers are now scanning stars for brief flashes of light, too regular to be natural. We haven't found any yet. Or maybe we have, and haven't understood them. You know what's weirder? Some of the most interesting discoveries have come from unexpected data. Like when astronomers were studying stars, but accidentally spotted something else. Anomalies, infrared excesses, signals too regular, shadows with no source. They dig, they poke, they publish papers, and every so often someone sighs and goes, okay, but what if it's aliens? It's never the official conclusion, of course. Saying aliens in a peer-reviewed paper is kind of like burping loudly during a funeral, technically allowed, but frowned upon. Still, they think it. They wonder. And that's the magic, isn't it? Not that we've found alien tech yet, but that we're finally smart enough to look for it in places no one considered before. Like exoplanets with unnatural night-side lighting cities that glow in wavelengths stars don't emit. Or pollution, yes, pollution. One day we might spot a planet with a chemical signature that can't exist naturally. Something artificial, manufactured, maybe even annoying. Imagine discovering alien life because we smelled their space smog. Typical. Here's a quick aside: octopuses have 3 hearts and blue blood. Their brains extend into their arms. Each arm has its own personality. They're basically living alien prototypes. And we still can't explain exactly where they came from in evolutionary terms. Just think about that for a minute. Back to the sky. The James Webb Space Telescope is already collecting data on exoplanet atmospheres, looking for signs of life, sure, but also for stuff. Carbon signatures, unnatural heat, hints that someone is tinkering. You picture it, a distant world blinking softly, its poles glittering with hexagonal towers, its orbit lined with satellites so old they've forgotten who built them. And what if we already caught one? There are a handful of objects in our own solar system that act weird. Like Oumuamua, the first known interstellar object to visit us. In 2017, it zipped past Earth at a strange angle and tumbled in a way that didn't make much sense. Some scientists said it was a shard of rock or a comet with no tail. Others, including Harvard's Avi Loeb, suggested something bolder. It could be alien tech, a defunct probe, a light sail drifting from another star. Most scientists dismissed the idea, but not all. And you lie there, toes curling slightly, eyes closed. You hope. Because if aliens do exist, if their machines are flying around unnoticed, if their beacons are twinkling past our ignorance, then we're not just floating alone in the dark. We're in someone else's light. And that makes the quiet feel less empty. You drift a little deeper, surrounded by the gentle glow of possibility. Something's shifted. You're deeper now. The thoughts are slower, rounder, softer, like clouds drifting through molasses. But still, one part of you is curious, still awake, still poking the universe with a stick, like what else you got? And so it gives you this: what about UFOs? Or sorry, UAPs. The terminology's changed. Unidentified flying objects became passé to sci-fi. So now it's unidentified aerial phenomena, which sounds more serious, more respectable. Like something a general would brief you on in a beige room with no windows. You remember the footage. You've seen it. The grainy black and white military videos. Navy pilots tracking something fast, too fast, zipping, darting, stopping mid-air, rotating, accelerating in ways our physics textbooks say shouldn't be possible. And these aren't conspiracy theorists in foil hats. These are trained pilots, radar techs, intelligence officers, people who are very familiar with what normal looks like. In 2020, the U.S. Department of Defense officially released those videos. Just dropped them. Confirmed they were real. The world blinked, shrugged, went back to baking sourdough. But if you were paying attention, something changed. Suddenly the topic had credibility. Mainstream news outlets covered it seriously. Politicians started asking questions. Congress even held hearings. Secret programs were named. Budgets acknowledged. We don't know what these things are, they admitted. We're investigating. No punchline. No X-Files theme. Just quiet bureaucratic alarm. You roll onto your back. Some of these UAPs are small, tic-tac shaped. They hover over oceans near military bases, nuclear facilities. They don't leave sonic booms. They don't use visible propulsion. They move like physics is just a suggestion. And no one's claiming ownership. Not China, not Russia, not Elon Musk. That's kind of unsettling, but also kind of thrilling. You imagine one hovering outside your window right now, not flashing lights, not humming dramatically, just observing, silent, precise. Here's a fun twist. The Pentagon created a task force to study UAPs. In 2022, they admitted that out of hundreds of cases, many were still unexplained. No weather balloons, no camera glitches, no birds, just unknowns. Scientists still debate how many of these could be experimental tech, atmospheric illusions, or straight-up mistakes. But they agree on one thing: not all of them have explanations. You hum softly to yourself, a tune with no name, just rhythm and breath. Of course, plenty of skeptics say extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and they're right. But that doesn't mean the questions aren't worth asking, especially when UAPs show up underwater. Yes, underwater. The acronym becomes USO, Unidentified Submerged Object. Navy sonar has picked up things moving beneath the surface at speeds no known submarine can achieve. Silent, unstoppable, trajectories that make no sense. Like something playing 4D chess with the ocean. You picture it, a dark shape, gliding through pressure and cold, totally unfazed. Watching, waiting, or maybe just traveling. You remember oceans are still mostly unexplored. We know more about Mars's surface than our own sea floor. So why not hide there? Why not base yourself under thousands of tons of crushing salt water if you didn't want to be found? It's like building your secret treehouse in the Mariana Trench. And here's another oddity. In 2019, astronomers detected a fast radio burst from space that maybe came from near Earth. Like really near. Not from a star or a black hole, but possibly from orbit. Was it a glitch, a reflection, or something else? Probably nothing. Probably. But the pattern is enough to keep your brain awake just a little longer. Here's something charmingly human. Our first response to the idea of UAPs is often fear. But what if it's not about war or invasion? What if it's monitoring? What if it's curiosity? Maybe we're being watched the way you'd observe a toddler learning to walk, or a penguin trying to use a vending machine. Maybe the UAPs aren't probes at all. Maybe they're art, signals, weather forecasts. Maybe the aliens have hobbies. Maybe this is just their version of stargazing. And maybe, just maybe, we've been seeing them all along. Ancient paintings, religious visions, bright wheels in the sky, folklore full of glowing discs and sky chariots. Interpretations vary, but the shapes, the lights, the presence that stays the same. A timeless visitation. Some believe UAPs are interdimensional, slipping in and out of our reality like soap bubbles. Others think they're time travelers, or quantum ghosts, or something so far beyond us they don't even know they're causing a scene. You smile, eyes closed now, because even if they are here, even if UAPs are real and not just misidentified drones or seagulls with attitudes, it means we're already part of a bigger story. Not just dreaming of contact, but living in its shadow. And maybe one day, that shadow will step into the light. Until then, we lie here, listening, wondering, and sometimes just maybe watching back. Your body's given up the fight now, each breath deeper than the last, like waves brushing the inside of your ribs. But your mind, oh, it's not done. It's doing that late-night thing where curiosity and fear shake hands, because now it whispers, "What if they're already here?" Or you blink lazily in the dark. That sentence comes with chills built in. Not the jump scare kind, but the slow creeping kind that comes with implication. With maybe. Because if aliens have mastered interstellar travel, mastered time, matter, energy, hiding from us wouldn't be hard. We picture contact like it's going to be loud. Ships in the sky, global speeches, fireworks and fear and celebrations. But maybe it's quiet. Maybe it already happened and we just didn't notice. Or worse, maybe we did. Let's talk about the "they walk among us" theory. Not the Netflix kind with secret spies, but the idea that aliens or something like them have integrated. Carefully, patiently, silently. This isn't just tinfoil hat territory either. Some scholars, mythologists, and scientists believe that our oldest stories may hide real encounters. Think about it: ancient gods who arrive in chariots of fire, glowing beings who teach agriculture, messengers from the stars. Even old cave paintings show figures that look eerily like modern depictions of greys, large heads, dark eyes, limbs too long. Coincidence? Scientists still debate how much of ancient mythology is metaphor and how much is misinterpreted experience. Were the sky gods and star visitors just poetic attempts to explain natural events? Or were they literal? You snuggle deeper into your blanket, safe in your human cocoon. There's something oddly cozy about the idea that someone's been watching over us this whole time. Not abducting, not hurting, just watching, guiding here and there, nudging evolution along, whispering to the early primates, "Hey, try fire." This is the core of the ancient astronaut theory that humanity may have had help, that somewhere between the ape and the astronaut, someone stopped by, left a seed, maybe more. Most scientists call it speculative. They point to gaps in evidence, holes in logic. But the theory lingers because there are so many gaps in our evolution, in our history, in the math. Why did Homo sapiens suddenly leap forward 70,000 years ago with tools, language, art? Why do so many global myths talk about beings from the stars, teaching humans secrets? You let the thoughts unfurl like smoke. Maybe the aliens didn't arrive in ships. Maybe they arrived as ideas. Maybe they inserted themselves into our stories, embedded in fairy tales, encrypted in religion, disguised as dreams. What if they never left? Here's an eerie side note: in some abduction stories, people report not just being taken, but being told that the aliens have been here for generations, that they live in human society undetected, that they walk beside us, at the grocery store, on the subway, maybe even next door. Cue the nervous laugh. But it gets weirder. Because some researchers think alien presence might not be physical at all. What if they exist as consciousness quantum entities? Non-corporeal intelligence. Software uploaded into particles of light. Hiding in plain sight, not as people, but as patterns. You've heard of that old internet creepypasta. The theory that an alien AI is hiding in our networks, reading our posts, learning our language, shaping our culture through memes and micro-suggestions. Absurd. Sure. But the idea that the medium is the message, that's not new. And here's the twist. What if the aliens don't look like us, not because they can't, but because they don't need to? Maybe they're bacteria-level life that manipulates DNA. Maybe they're sentient energy in the microwave background. Maybe the reason we can't find them is because we're still expecting legs and fingers. Here's a fact that makes you shiver in the best way the mantis shrimp has. 16 types of color receptors. You have 3. It sees colors you literally can't imagine. Entire spectrums. Hidden rainbows. Now imagine trying to spot an alien that's evolved in senses you don't possess. You wouldn't even know what you were missing. The best hiding place right in front of something too limited to perceive you. Maybe the aliens are hiding in color, in frequency, in thought. You take a breath, hold it, let it go, not afraid, just aware. And maybe that's why we haven't found them. Because they're already here. Not threatening, not loud, just patient, waiting for us to grow, to understand, to finally tune in. You smile in the dark, because maybe tonight your insomnia is your gift, your gateway, your weird little signal that you're ready to see. Maybe they've been here the whole time, and maybe, just maybe, they're listening too. You're not sure when it happened, but somewhere along the way, the fear melted. What used to make your shoulders tense now feels oddly soft. Like curiosity wrapped in a blanket, like wonder with the sharp edges sanded off. And now your brain tilts its sleepy head and asks, do aliens sleep? You blink slowly. It's a simple question, almost childish, which makes it perfect. Because the best science starts with a simple, maybe silly question whispered into the quiet. Sleep feels like such a human thing, a mammal thing, warm, vulnerable, necessary. But if there's life on other worlds drifting between stars or floating inside translucent gas sacs, do they sleep too? Scientists still debate why we even sleep. Not just rest, but true, paralyzing, dream-charged unconsciousness. Some theories say it's for memory consolidation. Some say it's cellular repair. Some say it's evolutionary, just a way to stay still and not get eaten. But even simple creatures sleep. Jellyfish have sleep-like cycles. So do fruit flies. Octopuses not only sleep, they dream. You can see the colors shift across their skin like a living mood ring twitching through invisible narratives. So, if Earth life dreams, could alien life? You imagine a creature curled up in a magnetic field, humming gently, dreaming in smells or radiation bursts or tactile memories of planetary tides. You imagine a machine intelligence that rests by folding into recursive loops of thought. Or a hive mind that cycles its consciousness through different members to stay awake as a group. Or maybe they don't need sleep at all. Maybe sleep is an earthbound oddity, a side effect of carbon and gravity and squishy limitations. But maybe, just maybe, they envy us for it. Because sleep is more than survival. It's permission to let go, to surrender the conscious world and float through imagination. It's where dreams live, where metaphors get dressed in costumes, where the logical walls of reality soften into poetry. And if aliens do sleep, maybe they dream of us. Maybe we are their myths, their impossible creatures, their story to tell when their sky turns dark. You tuck your arm under your pillow, pressing it gently against your ear, like you're listening through the mattress. Maybe sleep is the one truly universal language. You know what's beautiful. Some scientists believe consciousness itself may not be entirely tied to biology. There's a theory, panpsychism, that suggests everything has some degree of consciousness. Even rocks, even electrons, even the universe. So in that way, maybe the cosmos sleeps and dreams, and we're just fragments of its dreams spinning stories into the night. You remember that weird but real fact, birds can sleep with half their brain. Ducks do it to stay alert. One hemisphere shuts down while the other stays on duty. They sleep with one eye open, literally. Now imagine an alien species that evolved to sleep while awake. Half of their mind resting while the other negotiates, flies ships, invents poetry. A civilization built on rotating rest, where the collective never fully sleeps, but no one is ever fully awake. Or maybe they go into seasonal hibernation, like bears, or sleep in light instead of dark, or plug into a central neural cloud and dissolve into shared dreams every night. You picture them curled into strange pods connected by threads of light, whispering across star systems in dream language. They visit Earth not in ships, but in thoughts. They enter our minds as fragments, symbols, dreams within dreams, and we call them nightmares, or visions, or abduction stories. But maybe, just maybe, they're trying to share something beautiful, a glimpse into their collective unconscious. And we poor mammals flinch at it, because it's too big, too bright, too weird. You roll onto your side blanket tucked under your chin. This is your favorite part of the night now, when science becomes surreal and logic loosens just enough to let the mystery in. If aliens do sleep, maybe their lullabies are frequencies we haven't discovered. Maybe we've already recorded them in deep space radio static, but never knew how to listen right. Or maybe that deep, soothing hum you hear in absolute silence, that ringing behind your ears. Maybe that's the sound of someone else dreaming nearby. It's not frightening. It's intimate. You exhale slowly. You like the idea that the universe dreams, that you lying there with tired eyes and spinning thoughts are not alone in your exhaustion. Somewhere out there, someone else might be curled up in their ship, their cloud, their nest of nanowires thinking of you. Not specifically you, but you. A being that dreams, that wonders, that drifts toward rest while holding a question gently in your hand. The kind of question that doesn't need an answer to be worth asking. Do aliens sleep? Maybe. But for now, it's your turn. You've slowed. That deep kind of slow where thoughts aren't sentences anymore. They're shapes. Vague, glowing outlines of ideas that float past like jellyfish in a dark sea. But one of them catches you. It tugs gently. It's not scary. Just sad. What if we're alone? Not because no one's out there, but because no one wants to talk. You blink in the dark. The ceiling above you is just ceiling, but your mind paints stars on it anyway. Cold, endless stars. Let's talk about the cosmic quarantine hypothesis. The idea goes like this: maybe intelligent civilizations do exist, plenty of them, but we've been intentionally left out, cut off, ignored, not because we're bad exactly, but because we're dangerous, or not ready, or both. Imagine a classroom. We're the rowdy kid in the corner throwing glue sticks. The others are trying to work on calculus and string theory, and here we are still arguing about the Earth's shape and reality TV. So the galactic adults agreed, don't interact. Don't reward. Let them figure it out on their own. You swallow gently. That one stings a little, but it makes a strange kind of sense. We've only had radio for a century. We've had nukes for less time than that. We still organize ourselves with lines on maps and argue over invisible sky friends. If aliens are truly advanced millions of years ahead, they might see us the way we see toddlers with power tools. You smile weakly. Toddlers are cute, but you don't hand them matches. Still, it feels lonely. The idea that they might be there but deliberately avoiding us, like a cosmic block button. You imagine Earth as a blue and green marble floating in space, wrapped not in atmosphere but in silence, a chosen silence. And here's the real kicker we might never know. Because if the quarantine is working, that means it's flawless. No signals, no slip-ups, no oopsies. The zoo hypothesis and the quarantine theory often hold hands. Both say yes, there's someone out there, but they've decided not to make contact. And the reasons they're not cruel. They might be compassionate. Think about how we treat wildlife. Conservationists don't walk into a forest shouting and tossing glow sticks. They observe quietly. They hide cameras in trees. They leave minimal trace, because interaction can damage what you're trying to protect. Maybe we're the endangered species. Maybe they're giving us space to evolve, to become worthy of contact. Or maybe they're waiting for one particular milestone, the one that says, okay, now they're ready. What would that be? Not just technology. We've got that. We've got rockets and AI and toaster ovens with Bluetooth. Maybe the real test is ethics, kindness, empathy on a global scale. Maybe they're watching to see if we stop harming each other long enough to look outward with wonder instead of conquest. And if we never get there, well, maybe the silence stays. Forever, you sigh. Not out of sadness, but a kind of melancholic acceptance. Like finding out someone you love isn't coming to the party, but they're still out there. And maybe someday they will. Here's a weirdly relevant fact. Certain species of frogs go into hibernation and let themselves freeze solid. No heartbeat, no brain activity, just ice for months. Then they thaw, wake up, and hop away like nothing happened. Maybe Earth is like that. Frozen, waiting. Maybe we haven't thawed yet. Maybe we're still cocooned in some early stage of civilization, and when we finally emerge, whatever we are, then that's when they'll show up. Until then, the silence isn't punishment. It's patience. And in that patience, maybe there's love. The kind of distant love that watches from afar, hoping you make it, hoping you get through the hard parts. You roll onto your back again, arms folded over your stomach, like you're hugging yourself from the inside. Because you do want to be ready. You want humans to be better, kinder, braver, less noisy, more awake. And here's the most beautiful, lonely truth. Maybe the reason you haven't heard from them yet is because you're the one they're waiting for. The thinker, the wonderer, the quiet question in the middle of the night. They're not ignoring you. They're listening. And in the quiet, you're becoming something worth hearing. You're almost gone now. Just a whisper of a person left tucked into blankets and wonder. But one final thought lingers before the door to dreams swings open. What happens if we do make contact? You've imagined the ships, the spotlights, the global news alerts. But real contact probably won't be that flashy. It'll be a signal, a pattern, a math equation from across the stars. Maybe something we almost miss. And what happens then? Well, things change. Quietly and then all at once. The first reactions wouldn't be scientific. They'd be emotional. Fear, joy, denial. Your uncle would call it fake. Twitter would melt. Memes would explode. Governments would scramble, some trying to hide it, others trying to own it. But once the dust settles, the real work would begin. Scientists would pore over the data, decoding anything they could. Linguists, mathematicians, philosophers. Everyone would try to understand, to find common ground, to reply. And that first message, it might be simple. A prime number sequence, a geometric shape, a ping-pong hello. Or maybe something mind-bending like the blueprint for an impossible machine. Or an idea we don't have words for yet. Scientists still debate what our message should be in return. Do we send music, pi DNA, a map? Or do we say nothing, stay quiet, and keep our heads down? You hope we choose to speak, because silence is safe, but boring. Of course, then comes the bigger shift, not what we say to them, but what we say to each other. Because once we know we're not alone, every border, every conflict, every petty grudge shrinks just a little. Earth becomes small, shared, a single ship in a very big sea. And that might be the real gift of contact, not alien tech or space tourism, but perspective. Suddenly, we're not nations. We're a species. We're Earthlings. You smile in the dark. You've always liked that word. Earthling. It sounds humble, slightly silly, like something a curious alien would say with affection. Greetings, Earthling. You'd wave back sleepily. Hey, now here's where things get bureaucratic. The UN has protocols, vague ones for contact. They say we'd form committees, hold summits, debate what to do next. But let's be honest, we'd wing it. Because how do you prepare for a conversation with intelligence older than language? What do you ask? Are you peaceful? Do you dream? What's the meaning of life, or just, what took you so long? Maybe they've been watching and waiting. Maybe they've got rules about timing. Maybe civilizations must reach a certain threshold, technological, ethical, philosophical, before the welcome mat rolls out. Or maybe we surprised them. Maybe we made contact too soon. That's a wild thought. That we're the anomaly. The ones who hacked the galactic group chat before we were ready. You picture aliens scrambling, whispering, ugh. The humans figured it out. Now we have to talk to them. And what would that feel like? Awe, terror, relief, and responsibility. Because the moment we make contact, the universe stops being fiction. It becomes real, and our place in it instantly smaller and infinitely more meaningful. You think of Carl Sagan's pale blue dot, that image of Earth tiny and floating in a sunbeam. Now imagine that same image, but with an alien signature at the bottom. Hi, we see you. You reach out absently, like you're trying to touch a satellite with your fingertips. Here's a weird but true thought. When astronauts return from space, many report a psychological shift. They call it the overview effect, a sudden, overwhelming sense of unity, fragility, and perspective. Borders vanish. Ego dissolves. Maybe alien contact gives the whole planet that feeling. Maybe it finally slows us down, wakes us up, connects us in a way that no speech, no war, no viral cat video ever could. We are not alone. And suddenly we are not just human anymore. We're part of something bigger. Maybe that's why they haven't come yet. Maybe they're waiting for us to come to that conclusion on our own. To meet them as equals, not as fans. To offer curiosity instead of conquest. To whisper hello, not with desperation, but with wonder. You exhale, long, slow, heavy. And for a moment, your chest feels like the night sky, vast, dark, full of questions. But no longer empty, because somewhere in the static between stars, someone might be listening. And maybe they're waiting to say, welcome. You're barely here now. Just a breath, a whisper, a U-shaped impression in the pillow. But there's one last question humming in your chest like a soft radio signal that's been trying to reach you this whole time. What if you are the alien? At first, your brain chuckles. That late night half-asleep laugh where everything feels possible and slightly absurd. But think about it. Earth has been around for 4.5 billion years. Life started maybe a billion years after that. Complex organisms only about 600 million years ago. Humans, just 300,000 years. And civilization. a flicker, barely a blink. And yet we act like we own the place. But what if we don't? What if the spark of life that became you didn't begin here? There's a theory, panspermia, that says life didn't originate on Earth. It was delivered, seeded, hitchhiked in on comets, asteroids, interstellar dust. Maybe a single-celled organism rode through fire and ice and atmosphere and landed. Then over millennia it grew, split, evolved, became amoebas, fish lizards, primates, and eventually you. Lying here now, tangled in a blanket, listening for whispers in the dark. Scientists still debate whether panspermia is likely. It's a big claim, a wild one, but not impossible. Life is tough. It's been found inside nuclear reactors, in boiling acid, in Antarctic lakes sealed for millions of years. Life doesn't need a golden planet to thrive. Sometimes all it needs is a crack in the rock and time. So maybe you're not a product of Earth. Maybe Earth is just where your story continued. Maybe the real alien isn't them but you. And doesn't that explain a few things? Why you look at the stars and feel homesick? Why you stare into the night and ache for something you can't name? Why so many people feel like they were meant for more, like they're waiting for someone or something to come back? You smile, sleepy, teary-eyed even. Because maybe that feeling isn't loneliness. Maybe it's recognition. A deep cellular memory that you come from stardust, from chaos, from ancient currents that stretch across galaxies. That you're not just a person, but a signal carrying echoes of a journey older than language. A traveler with no idea you were traveling. Until now. And if that's true, then contact has already happened. It happened the day you opened your eyes and wondered what else is out there. You are the message, the evidence, the voice calling out into the dark. And that voice, it's beautiful. It stumbles, it sings, it asks questions with no answers. It builds stories, breaks hearts, creates art from nothing. That voice, you might be what the universe has been waiting to hear. Not because you're advanced or important, but because you're alive, because you care. Because in all the swirling, burning, churning chaos, you stopped long enough to ask, am I alone? You reach the end of yourself now, the final breath before sleep. And maybe, just maybe, someone far away feels it too. Somewhere light years across the dark, another mind, alien or not, rolls over in its own strange bed and wonders the same thing. Not where you are, but who you are. And somehow across all this space, your thoughts brush theirs. Not with words, not with technology, but with the quiet, soft hum of shared curiosity. You were never alone. Not really. And now, Botso, it's time to rest. You've made it. Not just through the script, but through the long, winding drift of wonder that carried you from the edge of your bed sheets to the far ends of the universe and gently back again. Along the way, you've asked questions older than cities. You've floated beside sleeping aliens in the clouds of Venus and wondered whether your dreams are echoes of someone else's memory. You've imagined star sails and techno-signatures, glowing ocean creatures on Europa, and whispers from civilizations who may be watching quietly from beyond the veil. And through it all, you never stopped listening. Because that's what we do, isn't it? We stare into the dark, waiting for a light to flicker. A signal, a voice, a confirmation that all this space isn't just empty, it's patient. Maybe we're the first. Maybe we're the last. Or maybe we're just in the middle, still rubbing the sleep from our eyes, too young to hear the welcome we've already been given. Whatever the truth, one thing is certain: you are part of the story. Just by wondering, just by feeling, you connect with something far larger than yourself. A chain of curiosity stretching across time and species and stars. So tonight, let the universe tuck you in. Let its silence feel warm, not cold. Let the questions rock you gently, not keep you awake. And if you dream of light, of ships, of voices made of gold dust and breath, just smile. They may not be answers, but they are company, and that's all you ever needed. Good night, traveler. Sleep easy. You're already home. End of script. Good night.